Hi, I'm Charlie Crawford, and I'd like to welcome you to my Adirondack division. I've been working on this layout for 17 years. I've been visiting the Adirondack since 1973. The layout for the first 16 years was set in 1927, and a year ago, after seeing photos of RS3s and Lightning Strike locomotives, I decided to move the layout to 1952. At the same time, I retired, and I've added the reverse loops at Remsen and Racket Lake. So for those of you who have visited before, the layout is somewhat different. It's now a point-to-point and mainlined about 130 feet, plus or minus. So hope you enjoy the new Adirondack division. This is an overview of the return loop at Remsen, which is now the southern terminus of the railroad. We'll revisit this and go over the structures. Now we're at the oldest section of the railroad, the logging pond at Buck Pond in the logging operations. And there's a pedal freight happens to be standing by. This is McKeever, a relatively new section, kit-built houses and a scratch-built depot. The Y was at the layout from the beginning. We have cut the corner here, and now we connect to the return loop at Racket Lake, which will have a depot, hotel, log mill, and staging for southbound train. A typical day on the Adirondack division starts with a southbound train leaving Racket Lake. This train will run south on the layout, and there will be a meet at Thendara with the northbound train. This will be a flag stop for Fairview, and here the train is exiting the return loop. The southbound train is now entering the Y, and it will pass Lowe's siding and will be on the center circuit of the layout. The local freight is passing the logging operation at Buck Pond as the logging locomotive is ready to pull a load. The logging crew has loaded a series of 12 cars. Some of them, as you can see, are chained. In the late 1940s, the Grass River Railroad acquired a GE 44 tonner, and in 1952, that's what we're using for logging operations. The Grass River built their own log cars, and this string that the 44 tonner is pulling is their own log cars. You can see the logs have been driven down the river. To the left are the loggers' cabins and log office, and looks like our locomotive is just about completed loading, and he'll be taking a Barnhart loader and a blacksmith car to the mill. Now we're at Dease Mill waiting on a logging train, and what's going past our southbound passenger train from Racket Lake. And here is the logger. There's the Thundara Freight House and the water tower. And the logger's going to pull out the empty log buggies from the mill. These are scratch built out of basswood to the dimensions that were the shop built log buggies Grass River built for themselves. And they are also available as white metal castings, but these with metal trucks and wheels and rails on them have enough weight to run as empty, so that's what they're doing on the layout. The Barnhart loader will lift logs, and you'll see there's rails on the cars, and the Barnhart loader would have been winched along car to car to load them, and then would travel with the train to its next destination. And the blacksmith car represents the car the blacksmiths would take with them to the logging sites as they would sharpen axes and saws and make any repairs. That's an IHC product with some details added, including the two blacksmiths. It looks like the 44 tonner is about done with its work here at Dease Mill. And before it leaves, please note there's a milk wagon and in the back a Model T loading a stake bed truck loading some lumber on it. And looks like the logger is done and heading back to Buck Pond for another load of logs. Meanwhile, back at Remsen, we have a northbound train that has left the New York Central main line at Utica, stopped at Remsen, and is heading north on the Adirondack Division. Lead unit is an RS-1 with sound, and behind it is an RS-2. And as always on the Adirondack Division, there is a mail car, and this may be an excursion since it's about a 7-car train. Notice the water tower. In Remsen, there is a steel water tank that was put there in the 1920s. It's still there. While we converted to diesel, they haven't removed the water tanks. Here's another one. This is a flag stop at Cayuta Lake. The train will briefly stop. We see a few cars waiting, and there's the shelter. And passengers will depart and get on board this northbound train. Heading north from Cayuta, the next stop is McKeever. This is the McKeever Depot, one of the more interesting depots on the Adirondack Division. It was a basic, similar depot to Remsen, and then to save some money, the New York Central put a second floor on it for the station master to live in. Here is the northbound train that we saw leaving Cayuga, arriving at McKeever. Quick stop, and he's on his way. Here's our logging train returning to Buck Pond with the empties to have them reloaded, and passing by is our northbound passenger train. One of the curiosities of the Adirondack Division is you have the passengers sharing with the loggers the rails on the division. This is the Stone Arch Bridge at the outlet of Buck Pond, and of course we showed you earlier the aerial view of the log boom and the crews corralling the logs. This is the Woods Lake Inn, a small lake near Buck Pond. There's some fishermen, a small outboard boat, and our train, our northbound train, is coming through to take the crossing at Woods Lake. As the train's heading around the curve, we've got the Hunter's Rest log cabin. This is scratch-built cabin I did back in 2005. As hunters can sometimes act up, our guys here are acting up, taking a pot shot from the porch, and the bears behind the cabin are acting up too, fighting over a garbage can. An icon of the Adirondacks are fire towers. This one is on the mountain over the log cabin. This is the yard at Thendara and the turntable. We've got some cars staged on, some log cars in the foreground. This is the Van Auken's Inn. It was a major hotel in Thendara, right across the street from the depot. And here is the depot. We've got some folks approaching the depot. Train must be coming. This is our southbound train from Racket Lake, arriving at Thendara. That's the Sandhouse and Tower, and looks like Thendara has, they're using a nickel plate switcher sitting in the yard there. This is the southbound train taking the depot track, and lo and behold, they're on schedule today. Here is the northbound train from McKeever and Remsen arriving for the meet at Thendara. Notice the water tower on the right. While the line is converted to diesel, they have not yet removed the water tower. Here, and coming through with the passenger trains halted is the Daily Banana Express. Through the 50s, it came north from New York City to Montreal, and it was a major move for the Adirondack Division, and they saved quite a bit of time from, say, boating the bananas up from New York to Montreal. They were doing it in 5 hours. This is an overview of the town of Remsen, right now the southern terminus of the layout. There's a variety of buildings. This is the Remsen Depot. It's a branch line kit, and then the Atlas canopy. This is the Remsen Freight House. It's a New York Central prototype by Tomar. And another view with the jib crane. I added a larger loading dock on it and the ramp. This is the Remsen sawmill, just an open air sawmill, some drill press machines, bandsaw. This is Main Street Remsen. The models are design preservation. All of the turnouts on the loop are controlled by tortoises. They're run by double pole, double throw switches, and this is the control panel made of a sheet of styrene and some styrene strip. On each of the return loops, we have an automatic tortoise to throw the turnout. It's called a hare by Tony's Train Exchange. The train will run on to the switch starting around the reverse loop. And there we see it, the switch is thrown for straight. The train is passing by Main Street, Remsen, and we'll head around the loop. The reversing section is this straight section right here in front of us. And now the train has traversed the loop, and as it approaches the switch, it throws the turnout, and the train can proceed on its way so we can have continuous running.